Flight attendant insults young black couple 5 minutes later. They fire her on the spot. Imagine being insulted by a flight attendant in front of a plane full of passengers. That's precisely what one young couple experienced. But just 5 minutes later, everything took a surprising turn. The airline made a decision that left everyone on board in disbelief. The flight attendant was fired. But how did this all unfold? You won't believe the incredible twist that followed. Before we dive into the story, we'd love to hear from you. Comment below and share where in the world you're watching from today. And if this story captivates you, don't forget to subscribe for more. The plane had just taken off from Atlanta, and the journey was about to get even more interesting. Everything felt perfectly ordinary on that flight: a gentle ride, light conversations, and the soothing hum of the engines enveloped the cabin. Yet unbeknownst to everyone, just a few rows away, a confrontation was brewing. A young couple, Liam and Emma, nestled into their seats, eager to embrace the tranquil hours ahead. They had been anticipating this trip for weeks, yearning for a peaceful and relaxing journey. However, what began as a minor inconvenience swiftly escalated into an unforeseen turmoil. It all started when with utmost politeness, Emma approached the flight attendant, a woman named Linda, with a simple request for a bit more room in the overhead compartment. The couple had a few bags and just needed a little extra space. Surely that wasn't too much to ask. Yet from the very beginning, Linda had been brisk and unfriendly, and now she shot Emma a cold, piercing look. Without uttering a single word, she pointed to the far side of the plane, implying there was room in another compartment. Emma, not wanting to stir up any trouble, thanked her and reluctantly moved over. But in that moment, something felt deeply unsettling. Linda's tone had been sharp, almost cutting. Dismissive Emma shared a glance with Liam, but silence hung between them. They thought perhaps the flight attendant was simply having a rough day. Yet the situation escalated when Linda strode back down the aisle moments later. Emma attempted to catch her eye, offering a warm smile to diffuse the tension. But instead, Linda's response was sharp and unexpected. "You should have thought about that before you boarded the plane," she snapped, her voice cutting through the air, startling nearby passengers. Emma felt her heart drop, her smile fading in an instant. Was this really happening? The biting sarcasm in Linda's voice dripped with mockery, leaving no room for misinterpretation. Liam, who had been lost in his book, glanced up, his brow furrowed in confusion. Emma, never one to shy away from confrontation, rose to her feet and demanded, "Excuse me, did you just say that to us?" Unfazed, Linda flicked her wrist dismissively and retorted, "What's wrong? Afraid of a little honesty?" The words cut deeper than Emma could have ever anticipated, leaving her feeling exposed as she sensed the weight of other passengers' gazes upon her. Some were already whispering, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. In that moment, Liam stood up, ready to confront the tension that hung thick in the air. Next to her, his voice steady yet resolute, he said, "There's no reason for that," casting a glance at the other passengers. But Linda, unfazed, merely rolled her eyes, waved dismissively, and strode off to attend to the first-class passengers. Emma sank back into her seat, her hands tightly clenched in her lap, overwhelmed by disbelief at the scene that had just unfolded. She attempted to brush it off, but the tension in the air was thick and suffocating. Liam turned to her, his expression a mix of shock and confusion. "Did that really just happen?" he asked, shaking his head in disbelief. Emma nodded, but before she could respond, in that moment, everything felt heavy as Emma and Liam caught sight of one of the flight supervisors making his way toward them. David, a man who had been quietly observing from the back of the cabin, approached with a sense of purpose. Their hearts raced as they exchanged a glance, a mix of uncertainty and hope swirling within them. Would the airline turn a blind eye? Would they allow Linda to escape unscathed? But as the supervisor paused beside them, he exuded an undeniable authority. "Can you tell me what happened?" he asked. And in that instant, Emma, still reeling from the shock, began to recount the situation. Every word, every detail poured out of her as Liam stood by, ready to support her in this crucial moment. He shared his thoughts, his voice steady yet filled with anger. David nodded, absorbing it all. "I'll take care of it," he declared, before turning toward the galley where Linda had vanished. The couple could only watch as David slipped behind the curtain. For a moment, silence enveloped them. Passengers around whispered, but an unsettling tension hung in the air. No one knew exactly what was unfolding, but one thing was undeniable. A shift was imminent. Emma glanced at Liam again, her heart pounding. "Do you think they'll do anything?" she asked softly. Liam simply shook his head. Their heads were spinning, caught off guard by the unexpected turn of events. Neither of them could have anticipated that just moments later, Linda's job would hang by a thread, and this flight would transform into an unforgettable tale. The minutes that followed stretched on endlessly as Emma and Liam sat in their seats, their hands tightly intertwined, hearts racing with anxiety, desperately awaiting some sign of resolution. The surrounding passengers fell into a heavy silence, acutely aware of the mounting tension in the atmosphere. They had all witnessed Linda's disrespectful behavior, yet no one seemed willing to break the silence, paralyzed by uncertainty about what would unfold next. Liam leaned forward in his seat, his gaze fixed on the galley where the supervisor had disappeared. Emma, battling her own anxiety, nervously toyed with the sleeve of her jacket, her mind racing with a whirlwind of thoughts. They had both been taken aback by Linda's shocking words, and now a heavy uncertainty loomed over them. Would anything come of it? Just as the couple began to fear that their hopes had been in vain, the plane's intercom suddenly buzzed, slicing through the tense silence of the cabin. The captain's voice emerged, calm yet resolute, delivering the disheartening news. "Ladies and gentlemen, we regret to inform you that due to unforeseen circumstances, in light of recent circumstances, we will be making a change in the cabin crew for the remainder of this flight. Please bear with us as we adjust." Emma's eyes widened in shock, her heart racing as she whispered to Liam, "What's happening?" Before Liam could respond, the intercom crackled to life once more, this time carrying the voice of the flight supervisor. "We would like to inform you that the flight attendant, who was previously serving this cabin, will be removed from her duties for the rest of the flight. We thank you for your patience and cooperation." A stunned silence enveloped the cabin, leaving everyone in a state of disbelief. The plane was filled with an electric tension as Liam and Emma exchanged glances. Disbelief etched across their faces. They struggled to comprehend the gravity of the announcement. It was vague, yet the implications were unmistakable. Linda, the flight attendant, was being taken off duty. The other passengers shifted uneasily, their whispers swirling in a cloud of confusion, each trying to piece together the mystery unfolding before them. No one had the answers, but the atmosphere had undeniably changed. A strange, almost unsettling sense of resolution hung in the air, and Emma found herself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. Relief washed over them, but it was intertwined with something deeper: vindication. Linda had insulted and humiliated them in front of everyone, and now it felt as though the airline was finally acknowledging their pain. Liam, still grappling with the whirlwind of events, turned to Emma, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't think they'd actually do anything, but they did." Emma responded, a small, almost bitter smile tugging at her lips. "Yeah, I didn't expect them to act so fast." The couple leaned back in their seats, both enveloped in uncertainty about what lay ahead. They had endured so much together. The last few minutes had been a whirlwind of uncertainty, and yet the fate of this story remained shrouded in mystery. Would Linda face complete dismissal from her job? Would the airline muster the courage to extend an apology? Or would this incident fade into oblivion by the time they touched down in New York? Just as their minds began to spiral with these thoughts, the door to the galley swung open once more. This time it wasn't just the supervisor stepping out. 2 security personnel accompanied him, firmly guiding Linda by the arm. Her face flushed with anger. Her eyes frantically scanned the cabin, searching for someone, anyone, to connect with in this moment of chaos. Blame hung heavy in the air as she avoided the gazes of Emma and Liam, yet everyone on the plane understood the reason for her removal. As they passed the couple's seats, Emma caught a fleeting glimpse of Linda's face, and for a heartbeat, their eyes met. The flight attendant remained silent, offering no apology or recognition of the chaos that had unfolded. Instead, Linda's expression radiated pure disdain, her shoulders rigid as she strode past. A flicker of satisfaction ignited within Emma as she observed Linda being escorted down the aisle, a moment of poetic justice unfolding before her eyes. It was an unsettling sensation, a mix of justice perhaps, but it couldn't erase the weight of the words spoken and the actions taken. The reality was undeniable. The airline was not going to overlook this incident. As Linda slipped away into the back of the plane, the flight supervisor made his way back to the front, leaving the cabin enveloped in a tense silence. The couple sensed a profound shift in the atmosphere. Liam turned to Emma, his voice barely above a whisper. "I guess that's it." There was a softness in his tone, a hint of disbelief. "I never thought she'd actually be fired." Emma shook her head slowly, her mind racing to comprehend the gravity of it all. "I don't know if she was fired for good, but they certainly made an example of her." Just like that, in mere minutes, the power dynamics had completely shifted. What had begun as a simple request for a bit more space in the overhead compartment transformed into an unforgettable moment for everyone on board. As the plane soared steadily above the clouds, the atmosphere in the cabin was thick with tension, yet strangely charged with anticipation. Passengers, who had been murmuring among themselves, gradually quieted down, their curiosity ignited by the bizarre turn of events. Some continued to discuss it, captivated by the unfolding drama. As they exchanged thoughts on Linda's behavior, a heavy tension filled the air. While others attempted to retreat into their own quiet worlds, Liam and Emma found themselves unable to shake the weight of the last few minutes. They sat in silence, each grappling with the unfolding events. Liam leaned back in his seat, his gaze fixed on the seat back in front of him, utterly lost in thought. But for Emma, an unsettling feeling lingered. Something deep inside her whispered that this wasn't over yet. The announcement had come. Linda had been escorted off the plane, and yet everything felt like it was just beginning to unravel. She felt down, yet a flicker of hope ignited within her, whispering that this was merely the beginning. "Do you think she'll be back?" Emma asked, shattering the silence, her voice softer now, laced with contemplation. Liam shook his head, a heaviness in his heart. "I don't think so. They wouldn't make an announcement like that if they were planning to just let her return." He paused, the weight of his thoughts pressing down on him. "But I'm still surprised they acted so fast. I thought they'd at least try to talk to her first or, I don't know, brush it off." Emma nodded slowly, her expression mirroring his disbelief. "Yeah, it was pretty quick. I wasn't expecting it to happen like this. I thought we were going to have to endure her presence for the entire flight." But Liam's voice was steady as he reassured me, and that made all the difference. A faint smile crept onto Emma's lips, yet her thoughts were still in turmoil, replaying the moments that had just unfolded. Linda's cruel remarks, her dismissive demeanor, the way she had so brazenly ridiculed them, it had all taken Emma by surprise. Now that the confrontation was behind her, she felt the weight of that moment pressing down on her, the sting of the insult sharper than she had anticipated. It left her questioning why it had cut so deeply, leaving her feeling vulnerable and unsettled. "You know," Emma said after a moment, her voice barely a whisper, "I've never had anyone treat me like that before." She glanced at Liam, and I can't explain why it affected me so deeply. It felt so utterly unnecessary. Liam reached over, gently taking her hand. "It's not you, Emma, it's her. Some people believe they can speak to others that way, thinking they'll get away with it. It's not about you, it's about her." Emma nodded, but the sting of those words still hung in the air. "I just didn't expect it from someone who was supposed to be there to help. I mean, it's truly her job to make people feel at ease. So how could she go from being helpful to that?" Liam squeezed her hand gently, and it just doesn't add up. "But what truly matters is that you stood your ground. You didn't let her get away with it." Emma smiled softly, a hint of pride in her voice. "Yeah, I suppose I did, but honestly, I barely had to lift a finger. The airline handled it. I just needed to share what happened with the supervisor." Liam chuckled, a warm glimmer in his eyes. "You're definitely not alone in this. I think most of the passengers were glued to the scene too. Everyone could see she was in the wrong. Emma." As I glanced around the cabin, it hit me. Liam was absolutely right. So many passengers had been silently observing, and though no one had dared to intervene, it was clear that they all recognized the injustice of what had unfolded. Some passengers cast uneasy glances in my direction, their discomfort palpable, while others leaned in, eager for some kind of resolution. In an unexpected way, the entire plane had become entwined in this moment. Emma and Liam were the targets, but everyone could feel the tension in the air as Linda was escorted off the plane. As the minutes slowly passed, the couple couldn't help but notice the remarkable transformation among the flight attendants who had taken over for Linda. They exuded professionalism and kindness, their warm smiles and genuine interactions with passengers creating a welcoming atmosphere. Unlike Linda, who had carried herself with an air of superiority, these attendants glided through the aisles, bringing a sense of ease that had been sorely missing. It was as if a weight had been lifted, and Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. What had begun as a tense flight was now gradually morphing into something much more comfortable, and she leaned back, embracing the newfound normalcy. She settled back into her seat, closing her eyes for a brief moment, allowing the steady hum of the engine to wash over her, soothing her frayed nerves. This journey hadn't unfolded as she had envisioned, but it was nearly at an end. The only lingering question was what awaited them upon landing. Would Linda be there at the airport, poised to present her case, or had the airline already taken decisive action to resolve the situation once and for all? Soon they would uncover the truth, but for now the plane glided gracefully toward New York, the final stretch of the flight passing without a hitch. Yet the unease lingered in the air. The tension still hung in the air as Emma and Liam found themselves enveloped in a tranquil silence, their thoughts gradually untangling from the chaos that had just transpired outside the window. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky with a gentle orange hue that felt almost surreal. The steady hum of the engines wrapped around them like a warm embrace, yet the haunting memories of earlier events echoed relentlessly in their minds. Despite the serene atmosphere, neither could shake off the weight of their experiences as the plane began its descent into New York. The captain's voice broke through the stillness, soothing yet firm, as he calmly announced their approach. Their arrival, but Emma and Liam were lost in their thoughts, barely hearing him. They were consumed by the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Would the airline confront the situation upon landing? Would Linda be there, poised to share her story, or would it all fade away, just another forgotten moment in an otherwise ordinary flight? When the plane finally touched down, a soft wave of relief washed over the cabin. The passengers, many of whom had felt the palpable tension, stood up and began gathering their belongings, as if the bizarre incident was already slipping into the shadows of memory. A distant memory, yet for Emma and Liam, the story was far from over. They shared one last, lingering glance, both filled with uncertainty about what awaited them at the gate. As the plane taxied closer, a wave of anxiety washed over Emma. She noticed two unsettling things: airport security officers standing ominously near the jet bridge, and a group of airline representatives waiting by the gate. A knot tightened in her stomach, a sense of dread creeping in. What could this possibly mean? Once the plane finally came to a complete stop, the passengers began to deboard, and Emma felt her heart race. Liam stood up, clutching their bags tightly, and began to navigate down the aisle. The security officers and airline staff observed them with keen eyes as the other passengers exited. Emma felt a chill run down her spine when she noticed one of the security officers scrutinizing her and Liam, making her feel as if they were under some sort of intense investigation, despite their innocence. Finally, when they reached the gate, an airline representative stepped forward. The woman, in her mid-30s and dressed in a sharp blazer, regarded them with a serious expression that sent a wave of unease through Emma. "Are you?" The couple who reported the flight attendant's behavior felt a wave of unease as she approached. Emma nodded, her heart racing, and the woman smiled, but it was a smile that lacked warmth, more a mask of politeness than a gesture of reassurance. "Please follow me. We need to speak with you for a moment." Emma and Liam exchanged a worried glance, their expectations shattered. They had hoped for freedom, for closure once the plane touched down, but instead they found themselves drawn into what felt like a serious and unsettling conversation. Reluctantly, they followed her, anxiety gnawing at them. They navigated through the lively throng of travelers, finally arriving at a small office tucked away at the back of the gate area. Inside, the airline staff had already assembled, and a man whom Emma presumed to be the manager was present. The woman who had spoken to them earlier gestured for them to take a seat. "Thank you for your patience," she said, her voice now imbued with warmth and sincerity. "We take these matters very seriously, and we want to ensure that this issue is fully addressed." As Emma and Liam settled into their seats, their curiosity began to intertwine with a growing sense of anticipation. A wave of apprehension washed over them as the manager, a tall man with salt and pepper hair, fixed them with a serious gaze. "We want to sincerely apologize for the behavior of our flight attendant," he said, his tone heavy with gravity. "What she said to you was completely unacceptable and does not reflect the standards we uphold as an airline. Rest assured, we are taking immediate action." Emma felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had anticipated some form of apology, but the formal delivery felt almost cold and distant. Liam, however, leaned in slightly, his curiosity piqued. "What do you mean by immediate action?" he pressed, seeking clarity in the tense atmosphere. The manager nodded, his expression serious. "We've already begun an internal review. We will be taking appropriate disciplinary measures against the flight attendant, and we will ensure that she is no longer part of our crew moving forward." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle in the air. "We are deeply sorry for your experience and any discomfort it caused." Liam and Anne sat in stunned silence, grappling with the enormity of what they had just heard. The woman who had treated them with such blatant disrespect was going to be removed from her job. It was a shocking revelation, one they had never anticipated, and it left them both reeling. Both of them were enveloped in a whirlwind of satisfaction and uncertainty. They had found the courage to speak up, and now it felt like the airline was genuinely listening, taking their concerns to heart. Yet this newfound hope was tinged with anxiety. Was this truly the right decision? Would Linda face repercussions for their actions? The manager continued, "We will also be issuing you a formal apology and offering you compensation for the inconvenience. We want to make this right." Emma turned to Liam, who offered a reassuring nod. "Thank you," Emma said, her voice filled with a mix of relief and lingering worry. Even though her voice was soft, we felt an overwhelming need to ensure that action was taken. It simply should not have happened at all. We could sense the manager's understanding as they replied, and once more they expressed their heartfelt apologies for the unfair treatment we endured. They assured us that they were taking all the necessary steps to prevent this from happening again. After a few more minutes of discussing the compensation process, the manager rose to their feet. "If you need anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out. We truly value our passengers and are wholeheartedly committed to providing the best possible service." Emma and Liam stood up, feeling a mix of relief and hope. A profound sense of closure began to envelop them as they walked out of the office. Emma glanced at Liam, her voice tinged with disbelief. "I still can't believe it," she said, her heart racing. "I didn't think they'd actually do something like this." Liam smiled, a glimmer of relief in his eyes. "Neither did I, but it's over now." As they left the terminal and moved toward the exit, the heavy burden of the situation seemed to lift, transforming their discomfort into a bittersweet victory. What had started as an unsettling moment had culminated in the airline finally taking action. Yet as they stepped into the dazzling lights of New York, Emma couldn't shake the nagging question that lingered in her mind. What would happen next? The incident haunted her, leaving Linda in a state of uncertainty about whether she would ever find another job in the industry. The weight of that question loomed large, but one thing was undeniable. She and Liam would forever carry the memory of that flight that had altered everything. The days that followed slipped by in a blur. Yet Emma and Liam were unable to shake the unsettling feeling that clung to them after their encounter with Linda. It was as if the entire experience had etched itself into their very beings. On the surface, life appeared to continue as normal, and they pressed on with their trip. But deep down, an unease simmered, a silent tension that neither of them could quite articulate. Emma desperately tried to immerse herself in the vibrant sights and exhilarating experiences that New York had to offer. She gazed in awe at the towering skyscrapers, felt the electric energy of the bustling crowds in Times Square, and was captivated by the dazzling lights that seemed to dance with life. Liam, ever the optimist, encouraged her to savor every moment in the city, and for the most part she did. They dined at fantastic restaurants, enjoyed a mesmerizing Broadway show, and even took a ferry ride around the iconic Statue of Liberty. Yet despite the city's breathtaking beauty, a persistent, unsettling feeling lingered within her, a haunting reminder of the events that had unfolded on the flight. It was a shadow that refused to fade. It wasn't until a few days later, when they returned to their hotel room after an exhausting day of sightseeing, that the weight of the situation truly began to settle in. Emma's phone buzzed on the bedside table, pulling her from her thoughts. She picked it up and saw an email from the airline. Its subject line reading, "Follow up on your recent flight incident." She hesitated, staring at the words, torn between dread and curiosity. But ultimately, her curiosity won out, and she tapped the screen. The email was lengthy, and as Emma skimmed through it, her heart raced, her eyes widening with each line. The airline had gone beyond. With a heavy heart, she read the apology, feeling a mix of relief and disbelief. They had truly honored their promise of compensation, presenting her with a travel voucher worth several hundred. Emma hadn't anticipated such a generous gesture, especially after all the turmoil she had faced. But there it was, clear and undeniable. To add to her astonishment, the airline confirmed that Linda had been permanently removed from the flight crew roster. The email even stated that Linda had undergone retraining to better manage customer service situations in the future. Emma set the phone down, her mind racing with a whirlwind of emotions. She glanced over at Liam, who was absorbed in his phone and couldn't contain her excitement. "You won't believe this!" she exclaimed, eagerly turning the screen toward him. Liam quickly scanned the email, his expression shifting as he absorbed the shocking details. "Wow," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. "I didn't think they'd go this far." Emma nodded, her heart heavy with mixed emotions. "Neither did I, but I guess they're really serious about making things right." She exhaled deeply, realizing how tense she had been. A part of her still felt skeptical. Had the airline truly done enough? Had Linda really faced the consequences she deserved? The letter she received felt like a long-awaited answer to her questions, and Ananya was overwhelmed by a sense of satisfaction she hadn't anticipated. It wasn't merely about the compensation, it was about standing up for what was right. The airline had taken a firm stance, demonstrating that they would not tolerate behavior like Linda's. But as the relief washed over her, another question crept into Emma's mind. Was this truly the end? Would the story conclude here, or was there more lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered in the days to come? She couldn't shake the feeling that Linda's tale held deeper layers yet to be revealed. Had she been dismissed because of this one act, or were there other complaints against her that the line hadn't revealed? Emma was uncertain, but deep down, she sensed that the complete truth might forever remain elusive. Yet as she gazed at Liam, she understood that no matter the outcome, their courage to stand up for themselves was unwavering. They hadn't allowed Linda's hurtful words to go unchallenged, and ultimately that made a significant impact on Emma. That realization was enough for her. Liam noticed the expression on her face and offered a warm smile. "You okay?" he asked, concern lacing his voice. Nodded, feeling a sense of disbelief. "It's just so strange, you know? I thought we'd simply receive an apology and move on, but this feels like so much more. It feels like we truly changed something." Liam's voice was steady as he said, "You stood up for yourself, and it mattered." A small wave of pride washed over Emma, filling her with warmth. The past few days had been incredibly tough, but they had faced it together. Now, with everything that had transpired, she sensed the weight of the entire situation beginning to lift. As the night deepened, Emma and Liam sat on the bed, sharing their thoughts and feelings, their bond growing stronger. As they made plans for the remainder of their trip, the email from the airline seemed to wrap everything up neatly, signaling it was time to turn the page. Yet in the depths of Emma's thoughts, she felt an unsettling sense that the story was far from finished. Would Linda attempt to contest her dismissal? Could this escalate into something much larger? Only time would reveal the answers, but for now they were just two souls on vacation, striving to savor the vibrant energy of New York without any further upheavals. The days in the city flew by in a blur, and Emma and Liam gradually settled into a warm, comforting rhythm. As they settled back into the rhythm of their adventure, they delved deeper into the city's charm, strolling through the enchanting paths of Central Park, wandering through captivating museums, and savoring blissful afternoons at cozy local cafes. The unsettling incident with the flight attendant began to fade into the background, becoming just another peculiar moment in an otherwise delightful journey. Yet every so often the memory of that event would sneak back into their thoughts, a lingering shadow that refused to be completely forgotten. It had undeniably left its mark, despite the airline's swift response. But as life often does, it continued to flow forward, carrying them along with it. It was the evening before their much-anticipated flight back home to Atlanta when the call came. Emma's phone buzzed, pulling her attention away from the cozy little outdoor cafe where she was sipping her coffee and soaking in the sights of the bustling street. She picked it up, expecting the usual chatter from a friend or perhaps a routine update. But when she glanced at the caller ID, her heart raced. It was the airline. "Hello," she answered, her voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of surprise. "Good evening, Miss Davis," the voice on the other end said. "This is Mark from United Airlines, following up on your—" In light of my recent experience with one of our flight attendants, I wanted to ensure that you felt completely satisfied with the resolution we provided. I also wanted to check if you had any other concerns or feedback. Emma glanced at Liam, who raised an eyebrow, and she motioned for him to be quiet. Taking a deep breath, she finally spoke. "Yes, I received your email. Everything seems fine now. The compensation was appreciated, and I'm relieved to know that Linda has been removed from duty." Mark replied, "I'm glad to hear that. I just wanted to let you know that we've also initiated a broader review of our flight crew training and customer service standards have become even more crucial following this incident. It's a vital part of our unwavering commitment to improvement, ensuring that something like this never happens again." Emma felt a small pang of surprise at the mention of a broader review. She hadn't realized that was part of the process. "We take customer feedback very seriously," Mark continued, his voice steady and sincere. "As part of that review, we've decided to implement additional training for our entire flight staff. It's not just about managing difficult passengers. It's about ensuring that every single member of our crew is equipped to provide the best possible experience, is dedicated to treating every passenger with the utmost respect and professionalism. We are actively exploring ways to ensure that no one experiences the distress you felt during your flight." Emma's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. She had never anticipated the airline would respond so profoundly. They had already taken decisive action against Linda, but now they were committed to transforming their entire crew's approach to customer service. A part of her felt a sense of relief and hope, knowing that the airline was seizing this moment as a chance for meaningful change. Yet another part of her remained unsettled. Filled with uncertainty, she wondered if it would truly matter or if it was merely a tactic for the airline to shield themselves. "That's good to hear," Emma said, striving to maintain a calm demeanor. "I appreciate you keeping me in the loop." "Of course," Mark replied, his tone warm and reassuring. "We just want to ensure that you and all of our passengers feel comfortable and valued while flying with us. If you have any further concerns or need anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out." Emma stole another glance at Liam, who was now fully engaged. "Thanks for letting me know," she said, her gratitude evident. "And I will certainly hold on to that thought. Thank you, Miss Davis. Wishing you safe travels, and we eagerly anticipate your return aboard soon." With that, the call came to a close. Emma found herself staring at her phone, her mind racing as she tried to digest the weight of what had just been discussed. A broader review, additional training. It all felt monumental, leaving her caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Should she feel a sense of relief or let skepticism take hold? She hadn't anticipated the airline would take such significant steps, yet a nagging doubt lingered about whether it would truly lead to meaningful change. Turning to Liam, she remarked, "Well, that's new," her voice tinged with a mix of curiosity and uncertainty. Still filled with a sense of disbelief, they're embarking on a comprehensive review of their training and customer service practices. Liam raised his eyebrows, clearly taken aback. That's a big move, he remarked. Emma, half smiling, replied, They said it's part of their efforts to ensure something like this never happens again. She paused, uncertainty creeping in. I don't know if that's just lip service or if they're genuinely committed to change. Liam pondered for a moment before responding. I think it's a positive step. Even if it's not entirely about us, at least they're acknowledging the seriousness of the situation. I wouldn't have anticipated them taking it this far. Far? Emma nodded slowly, feeling a mix of uncertainty and contemplation. True, but part of me can't help but wonder if they're just trying to cover their tracks. Are they doing this because of us? Or have there been other complaints like this? Maybe it's a bit of both, she mused. Liam shrugged, his indifference masking a hint of hope. Either way, I guess it's a step in the right direction. Emma paused, her mind racing with thoughts about the call and the promises the airline had made. It was all too easy to get lost in the details, to question whether any of it would truly lead to change. Yet deep down, she had to admit that this felt like a significant moment. As they took a step forward, the weight of uncertainty hung in the air. Only time would reveal the true impact of their choices. Finishing their coffee, they began to pack for their flight home, but Emma felt an unsettling tug at her heart. This story, she sensed, was far from over. There was an elusive quality to the situation, a depth that beckoned her to dig deeper. Would the airline honor their promises? Would Linda's dismissal be the final chapter? Doubt clouded her mind, yet one truth stood clear. Whatever lay ahead, this experience had irrevocably transformed her. There was something deep within her that she knew she wouldn't forget anytime soon. The flight back to Atlanta was uneventful, a sharp contrast to the whirlwind of their previous journey. Emma and Liam boarded the plane, carrying with them a blend of anticipation and relief that had accompanied them throughout their trip. Even though they felt a sense of closure from the airline's response, a part of Emma couldn't fully shake the unsettling feeling that clung to her after the encounter with Linda. She found herself wondering if, with time, that feeling would finally fade away, or if it would linger with her longer than she anticipated. As they settled into their seats, Emma felt a wave of unease wash over her, scanning the cabin with a mix of hope and dread. Would Linda's familiar face suddenly appear at the front of the plane, perhaps dressed in a different uniform? Would anyone dare to mention the incident during the flight? But of course, there was nothing, just the usual crew members moving about, their expressions blank, as if nothing extraordinary had transpired. They tried to anchor themselves in the present, seeking solace in the comfort of the seat, in the gentle hum around them, of the plane, and the gentle murmur of conversation enveloped them. Yet Emma found her mind drifting back to that phone call from the airline. The promises they had made about transforming their customer service training echoed in her thoughts. Would any genuine change truly emerge from it? Could she trust that the airline would honor its word? Or was this merely another hollow public relations tactic meant to placate their customers? Liam leaned closer, sensing the turmoil within her. You all right? He asked, his voice a soothing balm. Emma let out a weary sigh, rubbing her eyes in frustration. Yeah, I'm fine. I just can't shake these thoughts about the airlines. I'm doing everything I can to prevent this from happening again, but deep down, I still question if it's truly enough. It feels like so much of it is just empty words, and maybe I'm just spiraling into overthinking. Liam nodded, his understanding evident. I get it. You're trying to discern what's real and what's just noise. It's not easy to move on from something like this, especially when you're left wondering if it will ever lead to something significant. I know, Emma said, her gaze drifting out the window to the endless expanse of clouds. I just want to hold on to that hope. It's going to make a difference, but a part of me can't help but wonder if Linda is just the tip of the iceberg. What if the rest of the crew is just as bad, and this was merely the one time someone got caught? Liam shook his head, a look of conviction on his face. I don't think that's the case. If it were, the airline wouldn't be making these changes. They're not doing all this just because of one incident. They've got a bigger picture in mind. Emma paused, reflecting on his words. He was right in a way. The airline wasn't merely addressing Linda's actions. They were acknowledging something much larger at play. There was a sense of something deeper at play, a systemic issue that lingered just beneath the surface. If only they could find the time to truly reassess their training and completely transform their approach to customer service, perhaps there was a glimmer of hope for change after all. Yet it still felt peculiar, like an unfinished story that had yet to find its conclusion. As the plane began its descent into Atlanta, Emma was overwhelmed by a growing sense of finality. They were on their way home, and this chapter of their journey was drawing to a close. The flight had concluded without any incidents, and the follow-up with the airline had finally provided them with the resolution they so desperately needed. At least in some way, they had found the courage to stand up for themselves, to voice their concerns when something felt amiss, and to witness real change unfold as a result. But was that truly the end? Was it really over? As they landed and navigated through the airport, Emma couldn't shake the thoughts of the flight attendants who had shown such kindness and professionalism during their journey. She reflected on how different their demeanor was compared to Linda's. Perhaps not all airline staff were like her. Maybe, just maybe, most of them genuinely cared about the well-being of their passengers. It was a bittersweet realization that weighed heavily on her heart. To say, but Emma couldn't shake the overwhelming sense of gratitude that washed over her, knowing that she and Liam had been treated with kindness on their way back. At least that part of the journey felt like it was finally aligning with her hopes. As they stepped into the radiant sunlight of Atlanta's airport, Emma inhaled deeply, her heart fluttering with uncertainty about what the airline's changes would bring. Would they truly follow through, or would everything revert to the same old routine? She clung to hope, but regardless of the outcome, she felt a profound realization blooming within her. The incredible strength that comes from speaking up. The power to command respect and to hold your ground when something feels off. It transcended this single flight or this fleeting moment. It was about seizing control of your own story, safeguarding your comfort, and refusing to let anyone walk all over your dignity. Emma caught Liam's eye, and his smile radiated a shared understanding that spoke volumes. They had weathered this storm together, and while they could momentarily set it aside, a nagging certainty lingered within Emma. This narrative was far from finished. Whether Linda would face further repercussions remained an unanswered question. The changes at the airline felt like a glimmer of hope, a promise that future incidents could be avoided. She was uncertain about many things, but one truth resonated deeply within her. Everything had transformed, both within herself and in the airline's approach to the crisis. She clung to the hope that this wasn't just a fleeting moment of change. The true measure of their commitment would be whether the promises made would endure beyond the fleeting headlines. For now, though, they were home, and that simple fact brought a sense of comfort. A week slipped by since their return to Atlanta, and life gradually eased back into its familiar rhythm. Emma and Liam resumed their daily routines, diving back into work and reconnecting with friends, finding solace in the ordinary once more. All the little things that weave together the fabric of life. Yet despite their efforts to move forward, the story remained ever present in Emma's thoughts, haunting her like a loose thread she couldn't quite unravel. One afternoon, as she sat at her desk, her phone buzzed with a notification that sent a jolt through her. She picked it up, her heart racing as she read the headline from a local news outlet. Flight attendant fired after alleged racially charged incident on flight. In that moment, her heart skipped a beat. The article's lead photo depicted a generic airplane, but the headline seized her attention with an intensity that felt almost palpable. Her heart raced as she clicked on the link, her fingers trembling with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. The article unfolded a troubling incident aboard a United Airlines flight, where a flight attendant, referred to only as Linda, had reportedly insulted a couple during what should have been a simple interaction. Though the names Emma and Liam were absent, the details struck a haunting chord. The request for a little extra space in the overhead compartment, met with a biting, rude remark, spiraling into a conflict that felt all too familiar. As Emma continued to read, a sense of dread washed over her, knowing that the story was all too close to home. The incident was reported, leading to the flight attendant being removed from the crew and ultimately dismissed from her duties. Emma felt a chilling shiver run down her spine. The story had spread like wildfire. The article detailed how the airline had initiated an internal investigation, extended heartfelt apologies to the couple affected, and even vowed to overhaul their training procedures. The airline spokesperson passionately stressed that such behavior was utterly unacceptable and reaffirmed their unwavering commitment to customer service. While the piece didn't explore the personal aspects deeply, the weight of the situation lingered heavily in the air. As Emma sat back in her chair, staring at the screen, a whirlwind of emotions surged within her. The article, devoid of names and specifics, unmistakably pointed to them. A flicker of relief washed over her. The truth was finally out in the open, and the world was aware of what had transpired. There was no turning back now. Linda's actions, her dismissive attitude, had been laid bare for all to see. The more Emma pondered this revelation, the more she felt a sense of unexpected closure enveloping her. It was no longer just about her and Liam. The entire situation had transformed into something larger, something that demanded acknowledgement, transformed into something much larger, something that could serve as a lesson for others. Yet a nagging feeling of unease settled in Emma's heart. She couldn't shake the worry about Linda. Was the flight attendant being misrepresented in the media? Did people grasp the complete story? Or was it merely another sensational headline designed to capture fleeting interest? Just then, her thoughts were jolted by a buzz from her phone. It was a message from Liam. "Did you see the news article?" he asked. Emma quickly replied, "Yeah, I just saw it." Crazy, right? She found herself staring at her phone, lost in thought. After a brief pause, Liam added, "I wonder how Linda's feeling about all this." He quickly replied, "Honestly, I'm not sure I care." She crossed a line, and the airline took action. She got what she deserved. Emma sat in silence for a moment, reflecting on his words. Liam was right, of course. Linda had been unprofessional, disrespectful, and rude. She had insulted them in front of a plane full of people, making them feel small, unwelcome, and uncomfortable. The actions that followed were entirely justified, and Linda had faced the consequences of her behavior. There was no doubt about it. Yet Emma couldn't help but feel a deep, lingering sympathy for her. The entire situation had spiraled out of control so rapidly. Could things have turned out differently if Linda had approached it with more care? If only she had paused to reflect, to truly listen. Emma let out a heavy sigh as she leaned back in her chair, grappling with the weight of it all. She understood that it wasn't her responsibility to carry the burden of Linda's emotions or her uncertain future. What truly mattered was that they had found the courage to speak up, to refuse to let the disrespect go unchallenged, and that the airline had heard their voices. In the end, that was the most significant outcome. Linda's actions had sparked real change. Change both for her and the airline. A few minutes later, Liam texted again. "Maybe it's time we let it go. We did what we had to do. Now we can move on." Emma stared at the text, her heart heavy, before she typed her reply. "Yeah, you're right. It's just strange, you know? It feels like this whole thing happened in another life, but I guess I'll be thinking about it for a while." "I get it," Liam responded, "but just think of it this way. What happened to us won't happen to anyone else if the airline does what they promised, and that's something good." Emma smiled, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the lingering sadness. A wave of relief surged through her as she realized the truth. She had been ensnared in the tangled web of the situation, overanalyzing every single detail. But Liam was right. This was not solely about her. It was about ensuring that others would no longer endure the injustices they had faced. The larger vision eclipsed the minutiae. With a newfound clarity, she set her phone aside, inhaled deeply, and returned to her work. Despite the strangeness and discomfort of it all, this experience had ultimately propelled them towards something greater, a transformative shift in how people treated one another. Especially in spaces where power dynamics loom large, the airline had taken action, and it was evident that their voices, her voice, had truly made an impact. Though the story would take time to fully fade, Emma came to a profound realization. They had transformed a negative experience into something deeply meaningful, something that could ripple outward and inspire others to find their own strength. Perhaps that was the real victory. A few weeks passed, and life began to settle back into its familiar rhythm as Emma and Liam returned to their routine. They had their regular routines, work, friends, and the occasional weekend getaway, but every so often, something would trigger a memory of that flight. It wasn't always clear what it would be. Sometimes it was the sound of a flight attendant's voice echoing over a loudspeaker, or the sight of someone adjusting their seat on a plane. Those small reminders would transport them back to that moment, the tension that hung in the air, the sting of the insult, and the overwhelming feeling of powerlessness. Yet gradually the burden of it all began to lift. The relentless thoughts about Linda and the airline started to fade, allowing a glimmer of peace to emerge. As the response began to fade, it was replaced by the warm embrace of the familiar. Emma found herself gradually slipping back into the rhythm of her life, her days illuminated with a newfound brightness. The unease that had once haunted her thoughts slowly melted away, and with each passing moment, she could reflect on the past with a sense of closure. She and Liam had made the right choices, and while she knew she wouldn't completely erase the memory of that incident, it no longer held her captive. Then one afternoon, out of nowhere, Emma's phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, and a wave of curiosity washed over her. The moment she hesitated, a wave of anxiety washed over her. Was it the airline again, or perhaps another unsettling follow-up about the situation? She took a deep breath and picked up the phone. "Hello," Emma said, her voice tinged with weariness. "Hi, is this Emma Davis?" the voice on the other end inquired. "Yeah, this is Emma," she replied, sitting up straight as her heart raced. "Who's calling?" "This is Mark from United Airlines again," he said, his tone polite yet formal. "I'm calling to follow up with you one last time regarding the incident aboard Flight 2422. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." Emma paused, her mind racing. "No," she finally said, bracing herself for what was to come. "It's truly appreciated. But what is this all about? I wanted to take a moment to sincerely thank you once again for your incredible patience and for bringing this situation to our attention." Mark continued, "As a part of our follow-up process, we've conducted a thorough review of the flight crew's actions that day, as well as the overall circumstances. Your feedback means the world to us, and we wanted to let you know that we've made even more significant changes beyond the initial training improvements we previously mentioned." Emma's curiosity was piqued. More changes? Yes, exactly. After further internal discussions, the airline leadership has made a pivotal decision to launch a comprehensive customer service initiative throughout the company. This initiative encompasses a new set of standards for conflict resolution, with a heartfelt emphasis on cultural sensitivity and inclusion training for all flight staff. It's a meaningful response to the invaluable feedback we receive from passengers, including your own experience. Emma blinked, taking in the weight of this information. "So you're telling me the entire company is embracing this change?" "That's correct," Mark affirmed. "This isn't merely about one incident. It's a significant step in a company-wide transformation, an unwavering commitment to ensure that every passenger feels truly valued and respected, regardless of the situation. We acknowledge our past shortcomings, and we are determined to set a powerful example as we move forward." Emma was taken aback by what she was hearing. She had anticipated that the changes would be minimal, perhaps just a few flight attendants receiving training, or a press release or two. But this felt like a profound transformation of their entire customer service philosophy. A knot twisted in her stomach, but this time it was a knot of, it felt like a wave of satisfaction washed over her, as she realized the airline was genuinely taking this matter to heart, far more than she had ever expected. "So, this is a company-wide initiative now?" Emma inquired, her curiosity piqued. "Yes, it's directly related to the incident that occurred on our flight," Mark affirmed, his tone earnest. "We are wholeheartedly committed to ensuring our customers feel heard and respected. This initiative is just the beginning. We also have plans for new feedback systems that will allow passengers to share their experiences, both good and bad, directly with us, helping us to improve. It's crucial for us to better understand where we need to improve. This is part of a significant cultural shift within United Airlines, and we are genuinely excited to see where it takes us." Emma paused, taking a moment to absorb everything. "I honestly didn't expect any of this. I thought it would just be one of those situations where we receive an apology, maybe a small gesture of compensation, and then it would all be over. But this feels like something truly transformative. We believe it is, Mark said with warmth, and we sincerely appreciate you bringing this matter to our attention. You and Liam have played a vital role in helping us identify these issues. There was something we hadn't fully grasped as a problem, and for that, we are truly thankful. Emma experienced a rush of relief, quickly followed by an unexpected swell of pride. She had questioned whether the airline's promises would amount to anything meaningful, but now it felt as though they were genuinely going above and beyond. For the first time since the incident, she sensed that all the uncertainty, anger, and frustration had culminated in something truly positive. It was one thing to initiate a change for the better, but it was an entirely different experience to create a lasting impact that could touch the lives of hundreds of people moving forward. Forward. So what's the next step? Emma asked, still feeling a mix of disbelief and hope. What happens now? Now we're moving forward with the training, ensuring it's being applied effectively across the board, Mark explained with conviction. We're dedicated to honoring the promises we made to you. If you ever feel the urge to reach out and share more feedback or insights, please know you can always contact us directly. You've played a vital role in our journey of improvement, and we want to ensure that our communication remains open. Emma smiled, feeling valued and connected. A genuine warmth blossomed in her chest as she spoke. Thank you, Mark. I truly wasn't expecting to hear all of this, but it fills me with hope to know that something good emerged from this situation. We couldn't agree more, Liam chimed in. Thank you for your time today, and we sincerely hope to welcome you back on board in the future, under much better circumstances, of course. After hanging up, Emma leaned back in her chair, the weight of the conversation settling heavily upon her. She glanced over at Liam, who had been listening intently to the call. Well, that was unexpected, Emma remarked, her voice tinged with a mix of surprise and reflection. Trembling with a whirlwind of emotions, Liam beamed. Yeah, no kidding. It sounds like they're actually taking action, just like they promised. This could really transform everything for them. Emma nodded, still absorbing the weight of it all. It feels like something so much bigger than just us now, like we're part of a movement that could genuinely change lives in the future. Liam met her gaze with understanding. You were, and I believe you'll always hold on to that. Emma smiled gently, a warmth spreading through her. Yeah, I guess I will. In that moment, for the first time in weeks, Emma felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. Everything that had transpired was not merely about what had been lost during that flight. It was about the profound gift of a chance for change. What initially felt small and personal ultimately resonated far beyond her wildest dreams. The days following Emma's call with Mark were enveloped in an unexpected wave of closure. That phone call had become the final piece of the puzzle, revealing that the airline had truly honored their commitments. It felt as though the ripple effects of what had occurred were more significant than anyone could have anticipated. That flight would resonate deeply, echoing far beyond just her and Liam. She couldn't shake the memory of that moment on the plane when the unsettling truth hit her like a cold wave. Linda's words sliced through the air, leaving them feeling so small, so utterly powerless. Yet now, as Emma reflected on it all, she recognized a profound shift. What once felt like a crushing low had ignited a vital conversation about respect, professionalism, and the fundamental way people ought to treat one another. It was a turning point, a spark of hope in the darkness. In spaces where power dynamics are at play, a remarkable transformation unfolded, a quiet revolution within an airline. It all began with two individuals daring to stand up for themselves. Liam, too, felt the profound impact of what had transpired. While Emma quietly processed everything, he wore his pride on his sleeve, often bringing it up during their casual conversations. He couldn't help but emphasize the broader implications of their change. You know, I think we've done something bigger than we realize, he would say, a grin lighting up his face. Always able to see the silver lining, Emma found herself grappling with an unsettling sense of incompleteness regarding the entire experience. It had transcended Linda and the airline. It was now about how a single, seemingly insignificant moment could blossom into a challenge against an entire system. She had never envisioned herself as an advocate, much less as a catalyst for genuine change. Yet now she felt an undeniable connection to something far greater. One afternoon while Emma was at home, catching up on emails, she received another message from the airline. This time, it wasn't just a call, but a heartfelt letter. The subject line read, "A personal thank you from United Airlines." And her heart raced with anticipation as she opened the email. It was from the same representative, Mark, and it read, "Dear Emma, we wanted to take a moment to express our sincere appreciation for your courage and integrity in bringing your experience to light. Thanks to you and your thoughtful feedback, we have made significant strides in improving our customer service training. Policies as a heartfelt token of our gratitude, we are thrilled to offer you 2 round-trip tickets on any domestic United Airlines flight of your choice. We firmly believe that everyone deserves to be treated with respect, and your actions have profoundly reinforced that commitment throughout our company. Please enjoy these tickets as a cherished reminder of your invaluable contribution to creating a better flying experience for all." Emma stared at the email, the words sinking in slowly, her heart swelling with emotion. She hadn't expected anything like this, a gift, something so generous, making her feel as if her actions had truly made a difference. Emma shared the email with Liam, who was just as astonished. "Wow, 2 round-trip tickets?" he exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief. "That's a pretty big thank you." Emma's voice trembled with a blend of disbelief and gratitude as she responded, "I wasn't expecting anything." Yet there was a warmth in her heart knowing that the airline truly stood by its promises. The tickets represented so much more than a mere gift. They were a powerful testament to the results of their fight against the disrespect they had endured. It was a poignant reminder that their voices had been heard in a way they had never dared to dream. A swell of pride filled Emma, a feeling that was both exhilarating and deeply fulfilling. Beyond the compensation, it was about the powerful message being sent, not just to them, but to every other passenger who has ever felt belittled or disrespected on a flight. "You know what this means?" Liam said, his tone shifting to a more playful note after a brief pause. "We get a free vacation." Emma laughed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I think we've truly earned one." And so for the first time in months, Emma and Liam began to dream and plan. They didn't know exactly where the tickets would take them, but that uncertainty only added to the thrill. They were filled with anticipation for the freedom to choose their next adventure, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The adventure ahead was now infused with a renewed sense of purpose. They had battled for respect, and now they could finally savor the sweet fruits of their labor. As the weeks unfolded, Emma found herself lost in thought, reflecting on the profound journey they had undertaken. Both she and Liam had been irrevocably changed by this experience. What had started as an uncomfortable and distressing moment had blossomed into something far more powerful. They hadn't merely retaliated against the flight attendant, they had ignited a shift that resonated deeply within the company, creating a ripple effect that reached far beyond their own lives. Personal experience, in a way, the free tickets served as a poignant reminder of their journey. They weren't just perks, but symbols of the profound change that had taken place. More than anything, it was the transformation that held the true significance. Emma and Liam understood deeply that they weren't seeking a reward, yet it was evident that the airline felt compelled to acknowledge their remarkable achievement. In her quiet moments, Emma reflected on the incredible power of small actions. It all began with a simple complaint, a courageous choice to confront an injustice. That singular moment had transformed into a powerful opportunity for growth, not only for them, but for the entire company. If that wasn't a testament to the importance of speaking up, she couldn't fathom what was. Yet lingering in her mind was the pressing question of what lay ahead. The email from Mark had assured her that United Airlines was embarking on significant changes, and Emma fervently hoped these wouldn't be mere fleeting measures. She yearned for them to become woven into the very fabric of the airline, a genuine and enduring commitment to their customers. She had heard countless corporate promises before, but there was something different this time, something that ignited a flicker of hope within her. This felt profoundly different. The steps they had taken were not merely about rectifying a single error, but about transforming the very essence of the company's culture. "Do you think they'll truly commit to this?" Emma asked Liam one evening as they lounged on the couch, dreaming up their next adventure. The tickets lay on her desk, yet her thoughts were consumed by the larger implications. "I believe so," Liam replied, his voice laced with conviction. "They've come too far to turn back now, and you can be sure that everyone is watching." Emma nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. She pondered what her next steps could be, feeling the weight of her involvement in something truly significant. Now that she understood the profound impact one voice could have, she felt an insatiable desire to keep pushing forward. Who knew what other systems or places were crying out for change just as desperately? But for now, she allowed herself to bask in the glow of the small victories she had ignited. She had sparked something far greater than herself, and that was more than enough for this moment. Turning to Liam, she beamed with excitement and asked, "Where should we go?" As they began to explore potential destinations for their free flights, Emma felt a deep sense of purpose, knowing that no matter where they ventured, they were on a path of transformation. This journey wouldn't merely be a vacation. It would serve as a powerful reminder of their incredible journey thus far and the limitless possibilities that lay ahead. Before long, Emma and Liam stood at the United Airlines ticket desk, hearts racing as they prepared to redeem their round-trip tickets. They had chosen California, specifically Los Angeles, and the mere thought of sun-kissed beaches, the vibrant pulse of city life, and a refreshing change of scenery was simply irresistible. As they checked in, Emma's mind swirled with reflections on how profoundly different this experience would be. The flight felt like a breath of fresh air compared to the one that had started it all. Everything about this moment, the beaming smiles from the staff, the seamless process at the counter, and the overall atmosphere of tranquility, was a striking contrast to the anxiety-laden flight that had once left her feeling so small and invisible. It was evident that something profound had shifted. The staff at the check-in desk radiated friendliness and efficiency, taking their details with a warmth that felt deeply sincere. There were no traces of hostility, no dismissive attitudes. No one cast them glances of annoyance or impatience. Emma felt a sense of relief wash over her. She could truly feel the difference, and it was impossible to overlook. The airline was delivering on its promises, and the customer experience had genuinely improved, at least for her and Liam as they made their way to the gate. Emma found herself lost in thought, reflecting on how profoundly this journey had come to mean to her. She had never anticipated that one negative experience would spark such a powerful catalyst for change. The journey they were on now was more than just a vacation. It was a continuation of something that had begun months ago, the airline's heartfelt commitment to reform. Changes in their training and the broader cultural shift they had promised felt undeniably real now. Emma wasn't merely a passenger on this flight. She was woven into something far greater, a quiet yet powerful force for change. Liam, noticing the contemplative look on her face, nudged her gently. "You're thinking about the whole thing again, aren't you?" he asked. Emma smiled, a hint of bashfulness in her expression. "Yeah, I guess I am." He grinned, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Well, it's hard not to. I mean, it's not every day you get to be part of something that truly makes a difference. And now, we get to savor the moment." Rewards. Emma laughed, shaking her head. "I never thought I'd feel this way. At first, it felt like just another bad experience I had to endure. But now I realize how profoundly it mattered, not just to us, but to others as well." Liam nodded in agreement. "Exactly. We didn't just sit back and accept it. We spoke up. That's what truly made the difference." As the announcement for their flight to Los Angeles echoed through the terminal, the gate agents began calling passengers to board. Emma and Liam stood up, ready to embark on their journey, but Emma was suddenly overwhelmed by a rush of emotions. Gratitude washed over her. It wasn't merely about the tickets or the journey ahead. It was the profound realization that a single brave act of speaking up had sparked something far greater. Now, as they embarked on this adventure, they were reaping the rewards of their courage. Their voices had ignited change, and that change continued to blossom with each step they took down the jet bridge and into the plane. Emma felt a surge of joy as she observed the staff's demeanor. The flight attendants welcomed them with genuine warmth. The atmosphere was filled with lightness, and it was clear that everyone was truly happy to be there. I found myself reflecting on the earlier flight, where Linda had been so rude and dismissive. This time, though, it was a completely different experience, and it was evident that things had transformed. The plane took off smoothly, and as they climbed higher into the sky, Emma gazed out the window at the sprawling city below. For a fleeting moment, everything felt utterly perfect. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden hue over the clouds, and a profound sense of calm and resolution washed over her. Liam, noticing her distant gaze, leaned in and asked, "You're thinking about it again, aren't you, Emma?" Smiled and nodded, a warmth spreading through her. "I guess I am. It's hard not to feel this way. But you know, I think I've finally found some peace with it. We did something truly significant, Liam. We stood up, and because of our courage, things changed." Liam returned her smile, his eyes sparkling with a blend of pride and satisfaction. "I'm so proud of us. You've got to admit, it feels incredible to know we made a difference." Emma nodded, her heart swelling. "Yeah, it really does." As they soared toward Los Angeles, Emma felt the burdens of the past few months lift from her shoulders, the tension that had lingered after that flight finally dissipating. What had begun as an uncomfortable and frustrating experience had transformed into a powerful journey of empowerment. It had taught her the importance of using her voice and standing up for what was right. Now, as they ventured toward their next adventure, Emma understood that this was so much more than just a vacation. It wasn't merely about the free tickets or the hopeful changes at the airline. It was about the profound realization that every choice she made, every time she stood up for herself and others, truly mattered. It was about creating a ripple effect that resonated far beyond her own experience, could transform everything for the better. And in this moment, high above the clouds, Emma felt an overwhelming sense of confidence that the ripple would keep expanding. This was just the beginning. Emma and Liam embraced the next few days in Los Angeles, soaking up the warm California sun and cherishing every precious moment of their getaway. The trip was everything they had dreamed of, relaxing, exhilarating, and in so many ways, healing. They wandered through the vibrant city, indulged in mouth-watering meals, and spent blissful afternoons by the beach, mesmerized by the gentle waves rolling in. It was a much-needed escape, a beautiful opportunity to step away from everything felt so vibrant, and yet, even amidst the beauty of their vacation, the weight of the events back home clung to Emma's heart. One evening, as they sat on the beach, the sky ablaze with breathtaking hues of orange and pink, she turned to Liam, her mind still swirling with the echoes of everything that had happened. "You know," she said softly, her voice tinged with emotion, "this whole experience has truly changed me. I never imagined that one small moment, something so seemingly simple, could evolve into something so monumental." Liam smiled warmly, reaching over to take her hand, understanding the depth of her feelings. "I know what you mean," he replied, his gaze steady and reassuring. "It feels as though we unwittingly ignited a spark. I had no idea how profoundly impactful it could be just to voice our thoughts." Emma nodded, her gaze fixed on the waves crashing against the shore. "I couldn't help but ponder what might have happened if we had chosen silence, if we had let it all slip away. But now as I reflect on it, I realize how one single action can truly alter the course of events. It resonates with that timeless truth. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Yet when you do find the courage to stand up, everything can shift." The weight of her words hung in the air between them, and for the first time as Emma embraced a profound sense of peace, she recognized that this journey transcended the airline or the flight attendant. It was about discovering her own strength. It was a powerful realization that her voice mattered, that standing up for what was right could spark genuine change. Liam squeezed her hand, and with heartfelt conviction he said, "We didn't just change things for ourselves. Yes, we secured the tickets and received an apology, but those changes, the training programs, the customer service overhaul, those will impact everyone. Flies with them. It's bigger than us now." Emma smiled, a wave of pride washing over her. She had never envisioned that her actions would spark such a profound transformation. But it wasn't merely the changes within the airline that resonated with her. It was the impact on every individual who would now feel valued and heard during their journey. Every person who, like her, had ever felt dismissed or disrespected. She realized they had accomplished something truly meaningful, something that could echo through time. With a contented sigh, she leaned back, embracing the moment. With my back against the warm sand, I can't help but feel a surge of gratitude for what we accomplished. I'm so thankful we found the courage to speak up, even if I didn't fully grasp the significance of it all at first. But now I truly understand. We made a difference. Liam turned toward her, his expression gentle, and I could feel the weight of his words. We'll continue to make a difference every time we stand up for what is right. This is just the beginning. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a breathtaking golden glow across the ocean, Emma felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over her. In that moment, she realized something profound about herself: the incredible power of her voice and the bravery it takes to confront injustice, and about how one action, no matter how small, could ignite a powerful ripple of change. As they stood up and made their way back toward the city, hand in hand, Emma felt the burdens of the past months lift from her shoulders. The anger, the uncertainty, the doubts, each one dissipated, leaving behind a profound sense of satisfaction and pride. They had done the right thing. They had stood up, they had spoken out, and they had truly made a difference. This trip was so much more than just a vacation. It was a heartfelt reminder that change begins with us. And as she strolled down the beach, heading toward the vibrant streets of Los Angeles, Emma felt a surge of determination. She understood that wherever life led her next, she would unwaveringly raise her voice and advocate for what was just. In that moment, she realized more than ever that her words held the incredible power to transform the world, one small moment at a time. With this empowering thought nestled in her heart, she grasped Liam's hand tightly and stepped boldly into the future, filled with confidence. No matter what challenges lay ahead, they had already left their mark. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to hit that like button and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And remember to subscribe for more amazing videos like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and we can't wait to see you in the next one. The story of Emma and Liam teaches us the power of standing up against injustice. Their courage to confront a flight attendant's disrespectful behavior led to her dismissal and sparked systemic change within the airline, including enhanced training and customer service initiatives. This underscores that one voice, when raised with conviction, can drive meaningful transformation. Speaking up against wrongdoing, even in uncomfortable situations, can create a ripple effect of positive change. Silence perpetuates harm, but action fosters accountability and respect. In today's America, where issues of fairness and inclusion are at the forefront, this lesson resonates deeply. Whether in workplaces, schools, or public spaces, individuals face moments where they must decide to challenge mistreatment. Social media amplifies voices, much like the news article about Emma and Liam's incident, encouraging collective accountability. The airline's response reflects a growing corporate emphasis on cultural sensitivity, mirroring societal demands for equity. In our lives, we can apply this by addressing small injustices, calling out unfair treatment at work, supporting marginalized peers, or engaging in community advocacy. Like Emma, we should trust that our actions, however small, matter. By fostering open dialogue and holding institutions accountable, we contribute to a culture of respect. For example, providing constructive feedback to a company or participating in local initiatives can drive change, ensuring everyone feels valued. This story reminds us that courage in the face of adversity isn't just personal. It's a catalyst for a better, more inclusive society.